Um, First and foremost, as always, I want to start off with call Halo Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kakodash. Double honors and salutations to the elders, apostles, the elders of Great Millstone, the elder bishops. Shalom to you men. Shalom to the 144,000. The brothers, the beautiful brothers, the Hakim that are pushing this truth to this very hour. Shalom unto you men. And shalom as well unto the innumerable one-third, consisting of men, women, and children that have been blessed with the mark of the Torah, which is exempt from the judgment fast approaching. All right, I'm the brother Yazra Allah from the GMS Dallas camp, coming back at you with another quick hit lesson, Abarat Tazah, meaning Lord willing. It's edifying unto those you are meant to receive it. Now, really quick here, I was just kind of meditating. I was at lunch and just meditating on, for some reason, the word hate just kept popping in. I guess, going on social media and you're hearing a lot of people talking about hate this and hate that. Particularly, I guess what I mean by that is those of us in this truth, as we were known to, in the eyes of the world, to preach hate, right? Because when you think of hate, it's attached to an emotion, right? Um, and the water to our elders and apostles, right, a great millstone. They taught us to go into words and etymology of words, root words, and whatnot. And when doing so, you find out that there are multiple definitions for the same word. It just depends on the context and on how it's being used. All right. And so what I did here, I took the liberty to go online here, and I just typed in a couple of things here. I'm just gonna bring out a few precepts. All right, and I brought this out to be edifying. The name of this lesson is "What is Hate?" What is hate? It says hate means a strong feeling or dislike, rejection, hostility, or opposition towards someone or something. Right. So when you think of hate right off the bat, most people think of hostility because hostility usually leads to something physical, right? But hate can be just a simple dislike, right, or a rejection of something. If something that you don't like, yeah, that's considered hate. I don't like that, or you're rejecting it. That's considered actual hate. All right, a strong feeling of disliking something doesn't mean that you want to go and do something physical. Okay, people have to grow up, man. All right, get to understanding when you use certain words are trigger points. All right, and when they're used, and people take them in a broad contents and they react. All right. This is why Sirach, what is that? 33 and 15. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna grab it. It says, so look upon all the works of the most high and see that they are two and two, one against another. Right. So the power that we serve is a power of duality. All right, he's a power of balance. Okay. That's why it goes into it. It says opposition towards someone or something. Hate, opposition mean opposed to. Light opposed to dark. Left opposed to right. On opposed to off. In as opposed to out. Yes as opposed to no. Stop is supposed to go, right? So everything in the world has its balance, okay? And love and hate is no different. You just have to understand, get out of your emotions, all right, and and grow up and really understand what it's talking about and what it actually means, all right? Because in this movie there that we live in, there's an antagonist and there's a protagonist, okay? The antagonist and a protagonist, all right? This thing that boils down to two nations, all right? The Edomites and the Israelites, the righteous seed and the seed of the wicked. Okay. That's why, as a matter of fact, and when just backing up Sirach 33, here in Romans 9 and 11, it says, for the children being not yet born. Now, what is children talking about? It's talking about Esau and Jacob, the righteous and the wicked. Neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Yahweh Hashem Yahshua according to election might stand, not of works, meaning they didn't do anything to be wicked. The Edomites didn't do anything to be wicked, per se. Jacob didn't do anything to be righteous, but it says, but of him that calleth, meaning Yahweh Yahweh Shah ordained and elected who is going to play what in this movie. Okay, this was already a predestined before the earth was created. Okay, goes on to says, it was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. All right, and we know Esau being born first, he shall serve the younger. Hence another reason why Esau, the world that we're living in now, all right, it is for a short season. All right, because when Jacob's world is established, which is the kingdom of heaven, that's going to be in forever. So you can't have the righteous come first, then the wicked after that. If the righteous came first, or the righteous world, that means at some point the righteous world will have to end in order for us to experience the wicked world, and that's just backwards. Okay, this is why we're suffering and doing all this, going through all this hell on this side now, because those of us that are in this truth, we have to learn the difference between righteousness and wickedness, and we got to go through it, right? In the world, it's something called OJT, on the job training. We got hands on. Okay, we have to experience it. Okay, and it goes on to say, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Right, you see. So again, keep it in mind, hate. Okay, and the context and when it's used. All right, here it goes on to say, emotionally intense anger, bitterness, or resentment. I hate what they did. Right. So Jake, we feel some type of way when you look at the history of what the Edomites have done. Now, being again going back to Romans 9:11, these people were created, okay, to be the wicked. All right. So you have to understand that you got to get out of your emotions, Jake. You guys preach hate. You guys preach hate. Well, Ecclesiastes, the third chapter says there's a time for love and a time for hate. Matter of fact, I had that on deck, but I'm just going to say it. All right. So there's a time and a place for these things. Okay. So it says emotionally intense anger, bitterness, or resentment. I hate what they did. And it says action, treating someone with hostility or wanting harm toward them. Right. And that's what people think of right off the bat. When they think of hate, they think of hostility, action, and harm. And hate doesn't always mean that. It's about the context. Okay. And it says biblically, hate can sometimes mean to love less or reject or choose one over another. Right. Because people feel some type of way when you go to John 14 and 15 and talks about how Yahweh Shai says, he who, matter of fact, let me grab it. This is John 14 and 15. If any man come to me and hate not his father or his mother or his wife or his children and brethren and sister, yeah, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. You see? So going back into what? That's just simply meaning love less. Okay, you can't love Yahweh, your children, your wife, your son, your daughter, more than Yahweh, Yahweh Shah. You can't love the creation more than the creator. You have children because Yahweh, Yahweh Shah gave them to you. He created them for you. So you have to love the actual creator as opposed to the creation. All right. So again, but people could get it. People will read that, the average person, they're getting their feelings. Oh man, you guys, grow up, man. Grow up. It's not what this is talking about ultimately. Okay. Goes on to say hate can be a good thing depending on what hatred, depending on what is hatred and why. What is hated and why? Right. And it goes on to says hating evil, injustice, cruelty, lies, or corruption can come from having a strong moral and desire for what is right. Right. Who's that talking about? It's talking about the men of the Lord, us. Okay. Goes on to say biblically, there's also a form of righteous hate. Right. When you read, what is that? Proverbs 97 and 10. I think that is talks about ye that love the Lord hate evil, right? Proverbs 8, what is that? 8, I think 8, I don't remember the exact verse. Talks about the fear of the Lord is to hate evil and pride, right? Arrogancy and those things. All right. Ecclesiastes 3 and 8. There it is. 3 and 8 here. That's one that I had. It says there's a time to love and a time to hate. All right. So there was a time for that, but there's a time for everything under the season. When you go into Ecclesiastes, the third chapter, right off the top, it says there's a time for everything under the sun. There's a time and a season for that. There's a season to love, to hate, to build, to tear down, to restructure, all those things. There's a time and place for that. So yes, there's a time to hate. Going back to the duality of Yahweh, Yahweh Shah, our power, the creator. He's a dual power of balance. You can't have everything love, man. And that's the problem. These damn bugged out Christians want to talk about love, 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 love everything. Okay, and when Scripture talks about roughly paraphrasing, an unjust balance is an abomination unto the Lord. That's unjust. It has to be a just weight. You see, goes on to say one can protect what is good, the other can corrupt the person carrying it. Right. The difference, and that's talking about the difference between hating wickedness and being consumed by hatred, right? Because there's a difference. One can protect what is good, the other can corrupt the person carrying it. Evil, injustice, cruelty, lies, corruption can come from having a strong and moral desire to hate what is right. Again, and that is the elect, the men of the Lord. All right, those of us that are in this truth. All right, hating the wickedness. All right, and hating ultimately hating wickedness is a form of righteous hate or righteous anger, or better yet, indignation, if you will. The Lord has indignation. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's go to there. This is Malachi 1. I'll start at 1 and 1. Burdens in 4. The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. Malachi, verse 2. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, where have thou loved us? Right, because that's Jake's mindset. The Lord said he loves you, but it's like Jake, the average Jake, be like, you don't love us. We went through, we catching hell out here. We went through slavery. We getting shot down. We don't get no justice. We don't. You were his chosen seed. Okay. And to really fully understand this, you have to understand that reincarnation is biblical. You have to understand that we're paying for what we did in our past lives. People want to say get over slavery or we that wasn't, or have the Edomites or different nations say, well, we didn't own slaves or these. Well, here's the thing: our forefathers broke the covenant, right? That was given unto us by Yahweh Shah. Okay, and those curses were put upon us. All right, so back when we were given a covenant at Mount Sinai, thousands of years ago, here we are today. We are paying for what they did back then. So it's easy. Jake, the average Jake, can say, well, we weren't back there in Mount Sinai to make the covenant with the Lord, so why are we catching hell? But see, that's the mind of the simple. So to really understand how this thing goes, you have to understand reincarnation is biblical. You are your forefathers coming back in your third and fourth generation. That's biblical. Okay? So again, it goes on and says, I loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, where have thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and heritage to waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Here's the point. Whereas Edom says, we are impoverished, but we will return and rebuild the desolate places. Look around. All right. Right when the Renaissance era came in, that's when they came in and start rebuilding again. Right. Goes on to say, and thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and call them the border of wickedness, meaning wherever they go, they spread wickedness. Goes on to say, and the people whom the Lord has indignation forever, righteous hatred. Okay, so there's a difference between there's a difference when you have the understanding of it. Okay, just like love isn't always a bad thing. Okay, when you read First Timothy and what is that, the sixth chapter, 6 and 10. All right, so for the love of the money is the root of all evil. Okay, when you love wickedness, all right, John 3 and 19 talks about men that love darkness rather than light. Right. So people want to talk about love, but you have to understand the duality of Yahweh Shah, and you have to understand the context on when using these words. Don't throw them around and just paint everything with a broad brush. The moment you hear love or hate, you have to grow up, man. Okay. The other one, 2 Timothy 3 and 4, lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of Yahweh Shah. These are all things that are not good pertaining to love. All right. And what did Yahweh Shah say ultimately in John 14:15? All right, because people throw that word around all the time. Oh, I love you. I love you. You guys don't love us. Well, Yahweh Shai said, if you love me, keep my commandments. That's the true definition of love. The world, the society and world is changing into something totally different than what it really is. Okay, the true definition of love is keeping the oath that was given unto us to the best of our ability, Judges 5 and 11, rehearsing the righteous acts, rehearsing the laws to the best of our ability. That's showing love. And only the men of the Lord, the elect, are going to be doing that. So again, I just wanted to make a quick lesson here talking about hate and what is hate, because people are so pressed on hate. You guys preach hate. We preach hate. We preach hate. Okay, there's a time and a season for that. Look around the world and look at everything that's going on in the earth. Would you not say that this is not the time for hate, divide, division, war? Okay, it's the time. Why? Because the kingdom is being ushered in. So those of us in this truth, we are embracing this time. All right. So yeah, hate is necessary, and understand what hate is. And when we say hate, all right, because Yahweh Shai said, if this was our kingdom, my servants will fight. So when you go into Romans, the 13th chapter, it talks about how we must obey. All right, we're here in captivity on all the laws and all of the judges and powers and that are established by the Most High. So we can't get out of line and start, getting physical and doing all that shit. No, it's not time for that. Okay, when we go out here and we preach this truth or come up on and do our lessons, All right, we talk about hating wickedness, hating this world, the ways of the world, the rudiments of men, the religion, the just the vibration of this planet. And if you ask just an average person, no matter what race they are, how they feel about what's going on out there, everybody's out here is pissed. Everybody out here is hating something or somebody. Why? Because this is the season. All right. So just I want to make a quick lesson on that. Ultimately, man, it's not when we say hate, it's not about trying to put your hands on someone or I want to kill that person. No. Okay, it's more about an action and a behavior. All right, and what you stand for. All right. And what we're encompassed. We are vexed by the filthy conversation of the wicked as Lot was, because he was surrounded by wickedness, and we are surrounded by wickedness. So this is what we hate. All right. So anyway, I just wanted to make a quick lesson, quick video on this. Abaratazah. It was edifying for those who meant to receive it. Once again, I want to give all honors and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Kakodash, Shalom. Double honors and salutations to the elders, apostle, great millstone, Shalom.